Rick, I sense from knowing you over the years, at some point, God got a hold of your heart and He changed your life. Tell us that story.
Well, when I listen to Kevin and PJ talk and TJ, and obviously I've been blessed with just terrific players, and but I've also I've had to go back and apologize to some players that I coached because I went through a time, at one time I was one of the youngest head coaches in the country. I'd been at George Mason 1 year, then got on the fast track after 1 year to get to the Big East, and really wasn't ready for probably the fame and all that would come with that, and I got caught up in it, to be quite honest. People look at you and they see you. I think, and I grew up in a Christian home, going to church with my grandparents, and so I knew right from wrong. I understood humility. I understood sin. I understood all that. But what I didn't understand was that I wasn't rooted deep enough in the Word. And so when the world came calling, whether it's fame, fortune, vanity, whatever it is, that's where I went. And so I'd coached some guys at Providence the way that I'm ashamed of. And actually years ago, we went back to play Providence, and a bunch of those guys came to the game, and I told our administrative assistant, I said, we're going to stay here as long as I have to after the game because you're rushing to get out. I said, I've got some apology to do to some of these guys, and I did that, and because I really felt like, and I know that I didn't coach them the way I should coach them, and went to Texas, and I still continue down that path. But I think most people would look and say he's a good guy, he's this, he's that. But I walk in one day in Austin, Texas, and it goes back to something David said earlier about not the man that people see in the public, but who are you when you're really by yourself. And I walked in one day, and I have a son that's a missionary in the Middle East, been there for 7 years, and he's on fire for the Lord. I mean, he loves telling people about Jesus Christ. He came out of his room one night, and I had grown up in North Carolina, and two people that you knew when you grew up in North Carolina one was Billy Graham, and the other was Richard Petty. You knew those two guys.
The king.
In that order, though. In that order.
Yeah.
The king.
You knew that. You knew that order. I mean, you knew that, and so with Billy Graham, I was in love with every time I could hear his crusade. So I grew up knowing all about that. I did. But he came out one night after reading his book, Just As I Am. He said, Dad, God's calling me to into this field. And he's done it, and it's amazing what the inspiration he is. And then my daughter, who, you have such a wonderful relationship with each one of your kids, and my daughter is the apple of my eye, obviously, and someone I would never want to disappoint. But I'd grown up in a Baptist church, old-time gospel music. That's what I was. My wife's mother played the church organ at a Lutheran church for 52 years, and so when we got married, we went to a Lutheran church, and a little more formal than being a Baptist. But when we moved to Austin, and we always went to church, my wife did an incredible job making sure that we were going to be in church. And they started this church called the Austin Stone, and it was what everybody knows today is it's like going to a concert, but the worship of the Lord is incredible. And I went in, and I couldn't stand the noise because it was like a concert. So I started saying, well, you guys do that. I'm going to go ride bikes on Sunday and spend time alone with the Lord, which was a joke. And so I came in one day, and my daughter said to me, Dad, and my son's with her, we want to talk to you. And I sat down, and not knowing what was getting ready to happen, and they said, Dad, we don't like the way you treat Mom. We don't like the way you're living your life. We don't care. We appreciate everything that you work to give us, but we don't want any of it. We don't care about any of it. And because the most important thing to us right now is one day we're all going to die, and if we died today, Nick and I and Mom would be in heaven, you would be in hell. And when your daughter tells you that, it's pretty tough. And I got upset with them, but I left knowing that everything they had said to me was right. And my wife is the greatest ever. I mean, she is. But by the grace of God, and what I realized, Jimmy, is this. I thought I was okay, a good guy. But what I didn't understand at the time was really total depravity, poor in spirit. I didn't realize until I really got back into the Word at a really in-depth level about the Apostle Paul, where he talks about he's the foremost of all sinners. Well, I felt like I was. I said, man, I mean, he talks about everything he did. I don't want anybody to know all the thoughts that go through my mind. I mean, I would hate, I don't think there's anybody out here that would want a DVD made of their inner thoughts, what they think.
Well, we want to show you something just to that point, Coach.